If the Gita is there, focus only on Gita. All else is just stories. Gita is not a story. Gita is a philosophical document of the highest order. It is not storytelling.
So, says Kabir, you are the cage, I am your parrot in it, but I cannot see your face at all. You are the cage, I am your parrot in it, but I cannot see your face at all. So, this Rosemary says puzzles her and is asking, how is God a cage? Conventionally, God has been thought of, depicted, realized as a liberator. Someone who gives freedom from bondages. Someone who would rather liberate you from a cage. So, this kind of imagery is therefore a little shocking. Kabir is calling God a cage and himself a parrot in the cage. And he's saying, I'm inside the cage and yet I cannot see God's face. If we can forget all the troubling associations that are there with the word cage, what actually is a cage? Forget for a while the association that cage means slavery. What is, in fact, a cage? Something that contains another thing and contains it so properly, so completely. She already got the hint and is smiling. And so unexceptionally, that which is contained has no way of breaking out. A cage is just a foolproof container. You cannot just go out or fly out on your own wish. That's what a cage is. And that's what the one truth is. That's what God is. God is that which envelops you, which contains you all the time and everywhere. You can move in the cage, but not to the cage. The cage that you see and visualize is a small cage, and therefore the bird is troubled. But even if you open the door of that small metallic cage that you generally see, what happens to the bird? It flies off to the sky. Fine, that you call as liberation. Now tell me, can the bird fly out of the sky? So, hasn't the bird just gone from one cage to the other? And this second cage is very, very unforgiving. A million birds, a million flights, a million directions. There is no way out. The sky is the cage that Kabir is referring to. That great space, that great sky is truth, God. That great space has certain characteristics. You can never corrupt or pollute it. All kinds of clouds keep appearing, disappearing in the sky. Often there is smoke, filth, dirt, smog, and so much more. But the sky can never be called as unclean. Air can get polluted. The sky can never get polluted because the sky, even though it contains everything, is yet not a thing by itself. Only things can get polluted. The second characteristic is all things move in the sky, but the sky itself never moves. Not only do winds and clouds gently move about in the sky, there are tornadoes, hurricanes, all kinds of tempestuous disturbances. Whom do they disturb? They disturb other things, other beings, other objects. Buildings might collapse under the impact of all that which moves in the sky. The sky is neither shaken nor hurt. This skyness is really our nature. We may choose to not to abide in it. That is another matter. But it is always available, and if we do not abide in it, we remain restless. Please see that skyness does not mean inactivity. Skyness means stillness in the middle of activity. Stillness that is not only in the middle of all activity, but stillness that envelops all activity. Stillness is not the opposite of activity. Stillness is not inactivity. Stillness is a great vastness that cannot be touched by activity. Activity keeps happening in its own place. Activity is not to be blocked. Clouds are beautiful. The sun too is beautiful, so are the moon and the stars. The sky has no problems with them. They do what they must do, and the sky is what the sky is. There is no conflict. They are together. This togetherness is the harmony of living. You move to either extreme and you have created trouble for yourself. If you are someone whose life is besotted with just movement, if you are someone who is identified merely with activity, you will end up feeling unanchored, centerless. Because all that you are seeing and experiencing is movement. If there is only movement, then there is no anchor. And if there is no anchor, there is no security. Fear will take control of you. You will feel rootless. You will always feel like reaching somewhere because you are homeless. That will be the fate of those who have no relationship with their absolute nature, with their own stillness. And then there are those who form a concept of stillness. They have heard from teachers and read from scriptures that blind activity is dangerous, that one must be rooted and centered and still. So they train themselves to be still. And they bring about a cultivated stillness. And when you train yourself to be still, all that you can force to be still is just your gross body. So you will bring about the stillness of hands and feet. You may even master breath control. Even breath is gross. But that stillness will be a fake stillness. Deep within, turbulence would continue. Not only would the turbulence continue, you would be in no position to miss stillness because you are happily engrossed in the thought that you are already still. You have trained your hand to be still for hours altogether. You keep it here and you have trained it. 6 hours your hand won't move. 6 hours you can rest on some asana without any physical movement. And what do you think of it as? You think of it as the stillness of the sky. Obviously, all this only leads to misery, violence. Kabir says, what a funny thing it is that I am inside the cage. The cage is now the sky. And yet, I cannot see the face of God. It's not as if you are near God. It's not as if you are facing God. You are inside God, and yet you cannot see the face of God. What to do? Should one rejoice? Should one repent? That does not mean that Kabir is eager to put a face on God. It is not a statement of complaint. It is a statement of celebration. Had you had a face, there would have been spaces where your face would have been absent. All of us over here carry faces, don't we? And that is the reason when I have to look at you, I have to turn this mortal face in your direction. So if I have to look at you, I must look this particular way. And the moment I look that way, you are absent. Where are you? Gone, finished. It's a matter of celebration that God has no face. Faceless beings have a tendency to be limited and to disappear. Faceless beings are found only in one direction at one location. And faceless beings can deceive because faces change. God has no face, so look whichever way you would. Or not look at all. He is present. By giving God a face, you do yourself a disservice. Now you would be able to see God only in that particular face. So you miss God in all His other faces, including His non-faces. That is the face of God. So this cannot be the face of God. Now, godliness has been turned into something that excludes. That is not universal, that is not all-encompassing, but something that is partisan, limited. Bad. If there is God, and here there is no God, then what have I constructed here? What is absence of God? Not emptiness. Evil. Emptiness is the very environment of God. Where there is God, there is emptiness. Emptiness means being free of yourself, being empty of your concepts. That is the flavor of godliness, not the opposite of godliness. So there you have God with that particular face, and here you don't have God. Bad. And now you know why the world is so full of evil. Because our gods have particular faces. And when we don't find those faces, we act as if there is no God. And to act as if there is no God is called evil. Not as if God is not there, but we would then act as if there is no God. And therefore there is evil. What else is evil? The forgetfulness that there is God here and there and everywhere. In him, and even in the dust and the mountain and the river. Clear? In talking of God as the envelope that contains you, Kabir is also debunking a popular myth. And that popular myth is that God or the godly spirit or the essence or the Atma resides within you. It is very important to reject this myth. Atma does not reside within. Atma or God is the very blanket, the very space in which all happenings occur. Atma is not located somewhere within the body. You are located within Atma. Atma is therefore not yours, not personal. You cannot say, my soul. You belong to the soul does not belong to you. Mind is personal. Truth is not. Thoughts are personal. Realization is not. Analysis is personal. Understanding is not. Anything that is real is just not personal. You'll have to give up your claims on it. And as long as you feel like laying claims on something, it is not real. Which means all that is available for possession, ownership, association, or control is not worthy of being associated with. Because it is not real. That which is real would always be bigger than you, hence you cannot own it. And if you can own something, it is not worthy of being owned because it is anyway smaller than you. What is the point in owning something, in getting associated with something which does not challenge my limits, which does not enlarge me, which does not enrich me? So, dissociation or letting go or renunciation is not just good morality. It's actually smart. It's intelligent. Are we together?
So the cage, what Kabir is referring to is the Atma, the covering. This is the...
It's a cage in which you must be joyfully contained. It is one cage that you must surrender to. And when you are surrendered to this cage, then you get freedom from all the other little cages. All the other cages mean misery. This cage is so vast that you can never ever reach its boundary. So it is never going to cause you suffocation. Why does the bird dislike the cage? Because whenever she takes flight, her wings hit the bars of the cage, right? God, the cage, is so vast, so infinitely vast, that you are anyway never going to reach the bars, the limits. So you can keep flying. The cage accommodates you wherever you go. Never do you reach a point where there is a signboard saying, the limit of God. Beyond this is ungodliness. Venture no further. It's not a cage at all.
So usage of the word cage?
In the sense that it contains you. In the sense that you can never go out of it. That is one limit that is put upon you. You can never go out of godliness. Now call it a limit placed upon you, or call it a gift of love. God says, wherever you go, you will never be outside of me. Doesn't matter who you are, what you have done. You might be the worst criminal, yet you are always inside me. You are as much inside me as the most pious saint. You have all the freedoms but one. You cannot escape away from me.
Why do we say that may his soul rest in peace when the soul is not his?
May his
Soul rest in peace, whereas the soul is not his.
you figure out why do we say all that. Not only is the soul not his, is the soul ever in disquiet, in trouble? Is the soul ever restless? Why do we wish peace for the soul? The soul needs no peace because it is anyway always peaceful. So there is not just one, but actually two gross errors here. First of all, his soul is not his. And secondly, why are you trying to contribute pennies to the billionaire? God has tons of peace. Why do you wish him more peace? And look who is wishing. So these are all popular misconceptions. They appear trivial, but they are the foundation of our psyche. The way we live, the way we operate, the way we have raised the world and its institutions is very much based on these popular concepts,
Misconceptions.
which are misconcepts. If you can get rid of them, reject them, then your entire life changes.
So be rebellious.
But the rebellion has to be against your own deep-seated concepts. Otherwise, no point rebelling against trivia. Rebelling against trivia, even if you gain freedom, it would be a very trivial freedom. Rebel against your real bondages.
So you told that you should not give phases to God. So is it like that we should not do Murti Puja?
Do not give particular faces to God. You see, if you want to worship Krishna like the gopis did. There are instances that say that Krishna was dancing parallelly with 1,000 gopis. Now what is happening? What is happening really is this, that the man that the gopi is dancing with is seen as Krishna. So now every face is the face of, it doesn't matter who you are dancing with, he looks like. If you really want to worship Krishna, then see Krishna everywhere. If you want to give him a face, then give him all possible faces of men dead, men alive, and men yet to be born. Krishna, 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 Krishna.
That is what we should not go to temple and worship.
Go there. The statue in the temple is also. So what's the problem in going to the temple? Is that statue not Krishna? It's Krishna. Go there, fine. But don't come out of the temple. Look at the little impoverished kid standing outside the temple and ignore him as if he is not Krishna. Coming out of the temple, when you look at that feeble kid, you should see Krishna in him. That's what the temple is there for. The temple is not the place where God is. The temple is the place returning from where you would see God everywhere. That's why you go to the temple. Not to meet God just there. You go to the temple so that when you return from the temple, you meet God everywhere. That's the purpose of the temple. So you must go to the temple. Unless you are already seeing God everywhere. Are you?
Sometimes yes.
If the moment you are seeing God everywhere, wherever you are, that place is a... So you are anyway in a temple. How would you avoid the temple?